So this is JVSC again, John Black. We're here to finish this off finally. It's getting on my nerves anymore. Like I said, ask your kids, or I just don't understand it. Why would you want to be, let me ask you this. Here, I'm going to take this away, okay, because we're done with this. Let's say you were an alien, you were going to another planet, and there's another alien race there, and their planet is 50% ice, okay? They're going through a real ice age, okay? Let me see what this is. Ugh. Okay, so they're going through this ice age, and you go up to them and say, you know, half of your planet is under ice, man. It's like under ice. We have the technology, we can change it and get rid of all that ice so that your planet is more like room temperature, man. Now, I want you to imagine these aliens saying, you know what? What are you talking about? Why would we want to melt half our ice? If we did that, that doesn't even make any sense. We've always had half the planet be ice. You know, this thing, it's a very interesting psychological, if you're into psychology, like I'm into psychology too, that's one of the sciences I do like, if you can call it a science. Because, in the last 50 million years or whatever, we've been in an ice age. So humans have it in their brain, I guess, like that an ice age is good, or that's what you want. You know what I mean? Like, what? On the other thing I wanted to bring up was, I forget. See, this is what I hate about not editing, because then I lose my train of thought, which is why I like the whiteboard. I can keep on track. But the 50 million, because we are in I think if we had 90% of our planet covered with ice, and we had that during our whole, human existence, I think, and it was today, I think that people would literally, even if 90% of the planet was covered with ice, or was uninhabitable, and we only had 10%, that little sliver, around the equator where we could grow food and stuff like that, I think people would still argue and say that we shouldn't want the ice melted, because they're just so used to it. They're thinking that's what's normal. That's what's, you know what I'm saying? If we were brought up and there was never an ice age during the existence of humanity, we would have and then when we went into an ice age, we'd be freaking out then. But since it's the other way around, we're freaking out going the other way. I did want to bring up also, like, the last 120 million years, our temperature has steadily gone down. And yes, we are in an up swoop, but we are not. We're not out of the ice age, man. See, this is the most best one that I copied, right? Because you can see how it not only goes down, right? Not only goes down, but it curves. Kind of curves. You can see it going, but it's going down. I don't understand. Okay, well, I guess that's all I got to say about that, because I can't. And what's funny about this whole subject is this is only about half of what I can tell you. I could literally make 10, 15 more videos just talking about how they sound stupid and how idiotic they are. That, 3/4 of the Arctic melts every year and no one bats an eye. But if somehow that last quarter melts, oh my, we're just going to lose half our land. I want you to imagine this. Right? I want you to imagine we're out of the ice age, right? And the Earth's temperature is 70 degrees. Just think of all the you're going to have a lot of water in the air, a lot of rain. You're going to have a lot of crops. Crops are going to grow. And if you have a lot of CO2 in the air, let's pretend we have 1,400 parts per million instead of 400. You'd have crops that will grow like, if you're a pot plant grower, let's say you get an ounce off of a plant. If the CO2 was up like it was and you had the temperatures higher, nice, you would get like a quarter pound, off of that plant. You know what I mean? Your bounty for all fruiting stuff, where you just get tons more, man. The ground would be more wet, you know what I mean? More, I just don't understand. You have less deaths, and it's not going to inundate like they say, like it's going to take over half the whatever. But I want you to imagine both the Arctic and the Antarctic and Arctic both melted. You still wouldn't be able to populate those areas unless it got really hot, because it would still be cold. You know what I mean? Just because the average temperature is room temperature, that don't mean it's not cold on the poles. You're still going to be cold. But just think, like Greenland, Iceland, those could be like whole countries created. As the ice melts, they start seeing, like in Greenland. Greenland is actually the cold place, and Iceland is actually the warm place. The Vikings did that to try to trick people, go to the wrong place, you know what I mean, to find them. But Greenland is actually the cold place. That, as the ice melts, there's finding whole civilizations that have lived there. Under this ice, once it melts, you will see there has been civilizations there, and prospering and making crops and making babies and all kinds of stuff, man. So, I want you to imagine that. All of Iceland or Greenland and Iceland and like Canada would be, have way up past double Canada, you know what I mean? Crops would be, you'd have longer growing seasons. I don't see the downside. I really don't understand what downside is it and what's funny is we're not even like in an ice age where we're almost out of the ice age. We're way down. We're halfway in between getting out of the ice age and being in the coldest ice age we have been in the last 500 million years. Okay, so I just don't get it, man. Let me check my phone. All right, we got 6 more minutes. All right, let me babble for a while. I'm so glad I'm done with this global thing. I don't know why I do it. I know it's not going to reach anybody. And I'll get into my reasons on the next video because I'm running out of time. But but you see, okay, well, you see the difference now between the woke says that it's a crazy whatever, we're all going to die. The woke religion is just crazy. And that's the Democrats too. The Republicans or the Christians, they're just as scumbags too, man. They're not really lying like, hey man, I'm lying to you outright. They're not looking into anything. And if you listen to my whatever, you'll know that we are CO2. Go back to the last video or whatever, and you'll see the CO2. I'm looking at it right now. Our CO2 has been lowest in the last 1.5 million years compared to the last 570 million years. Okay, 570 million years, it's been higher than it has been, and then in the last 1.5 million years, it's leveled off, and we're concerned. And it's all, if it goes any lower, if this decline of CO2 would kept going, thank God it flatlined for the last 1.5 million years. So if it hadn't have flatlined, we would already be dead. If it kept going down the way it was going, the CO2, it would be below 150 parts per million. All the plants would be dead. We'd be dead. Well, I wouldn't be sitting here making this video. You know what I mean? But always forget what I was saying now. So let me see. So the Christians or the Republicans, they're just lying too. They didn't look into anything. Like, they don't care about truth. That's what I'm talking. See, that's the one main thing. It's not the most important, but it's one of the most important things in the Pastafarian religion is truth. And you can see with this, what I've been talking about, that the woke religion definitely doesn't care about the truth. That's crazy talk there on this subject. But the Republicans don't care about it either. They didn't even look into it. What the Republicans or the Christians are doing is they're basically saying is, this sounds crazy, which is what they should say, because you can't, climate change is like evolution or geological changes making mountains or Grand Canyons. You know what I mean? You can't see it. It's not going to, you don't have to worry about this mountain being formed because, it's going to kill your houses and stuff. You don't have to worry about that. Your house will be long gone before that mountain comes up and does any damage, But they don't care about the truth. They just don't care about the truth. They just say, hey, you're a guy in New York on the city, the bum that has this, the end is near, the end is near. That's what the religious, instead of looking into it and saying, they just say it's a problem, but it's not really a big problem. So why would they? We are CO2 depleted. We need CO2 in the atmosphere. Okay, our plants are suffocating at 1/3 of what they need. Okay, and nothing is making the CO2 for the last 1.65 billion years. 5.6 million years, and now finally we start making CO2 so we can finally give our plants not being suffocated. Finally, getting us out of this. What do you call it? Ice age, and making the CO2 that isn't going to get you out. It doesn't. Making CO2 does not make the temperature go up. Making the temperature goes up, that will make it's the opposite. It'll make CO2 higher. It's not the other way around. Okay, so we can make all the CO2 we want. As long as we don't get up to 10% or 5%, we don't not double it, not triple it, not quadruple it, but as long as we don't take it 125 times what it is now, we have nothing to worry about. 125 times what we already have now. We have nothing to worry about. But until we get up to 1,200 parts per million, we do have something to worry about. If something by evolution creates a creature that sucks out CO2 out of the air and makes something like, crab. Crab sucks out CO2 to make his shell. And shell animals do that. They take the CO2 out of the ocean. They came out of the air, and they make their their shell. And that's actually why the last 160 million years CO2 has gone down, because that's what happened. Some evolutionary thing came and they started making shells. And then they just, for the last 165 million years, they've been sucking CO2 out of the thing. And now I guess it's, they sucked out as much as they could suck out, and it leveled off the last 1.5 million years ago or whatever. But we need to start making CO2. That is a fact. We need CO2. Trying to limit our CO2 is stupid. And also, when it comes to trees, we save like 50 million acres of, like if humans weren't on the earth, 50 million acres of forest would burn every year, more than it does with us here. Okay? So that's the same as us burning. That means if we took that wood and burned it ourselves, you know what I mean? My whole point, God damn it. So my whole point is that